Alrighty, thank you guys so much for your patience. Just a little technical difficulties. I apologize for the wait. With that being said, thank you guys for joining tonight. I am really excited for tonight's topic. It is a much needed information impactful session tonight. So, with that being said, I am Marisa and I am the founder of Level Up Academy. Um, I am very passionate about financial literacy, but before we jump into tonight's presentation, I want the session to be engaging, fun, and interactive. So don't be shy. If something sparks a thought, if you have a question, or even an aha moment, drop it in the chat. I appreciate and welcome questions, comments, reactions. And all of that is welcome. So I'll leave time towards the end of the presentation for a Q&A session at the end. But if you're moved to speak up during, feel free to share. All righty. So with that being said, if you know me, you already know that I don't play when it comes to financial education and empowerment. It really is truly an honor and a passion of mine to be able to educate others on this topic, especially for my tech professionals out there. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I know that for myself, I'm a visual learner, so I did have a nice presentation created for you guys, so we can go ahead and get this started. Alrighty. All right, so this conversation is about securing the bag and most importantly, about how to keep more of what you earn. This conversation is about making your money work for you. And whether you're just starting out in your career, switching careers, or freelancing, or just leveling up in your tech role, you deserve to feel confident with your finances. I think all of us deserve that. And it's typically a topic that gives a lot of people anxiety, or it's not a topic that most of us want to talk about. But I believe that when you educate yourself on the information that will be presented tonight, you will feel less anxiety when it comes to your finances, because you understand the ways that you can make smart decisions to better your current situation. So we're going to dive into the real stuff tonight. We're going to be touching on a lot of good topics. We're going to be touching on budgeting that actually works, investing without the confusion, tax hacks that stop leaving money on the table. We're also going to be touching on credit, saving, and earning, and how to do it smarter. Okay. So this is your blueprint to financial clarity and control. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off and talk about the first and foremost step, which is getting honest about where your money is coming from. I'm sorry, where your money is going. That too, though, where it's coming from. Some of us have multiple income streams. Um, so one of the things that I do want to touch on is this is tailored for tech professionals, but really anyone can use this information. So tech professionals often have high earning potential. We know that being in the tech field, but that also means that we have more complex financial considerations to think about, right? So what's that song that says more money, more problems? That is exactly true, because you're going to owe Uncle Sam more money. You might have different ways that you can implement instead of paying Uncle Sam as much money as he wants. But those are things that we're going to talk about today. So have no fret. But many technical experts lack formal financial education, as most everyone does. I realized that even working with my peers. I started my own financial literacy journey in my early 20s because it was something that I needed to learn, and I forced myself to learn it. And I realized that people in my age group and even older people at that time was just not privy to the information or understood financial literacy. And that's where really I felt like that's where I could come in and step in and kind of bridge that gap. Um, so there is a knowledge gap that exists, especially in the Black and Brown community, as we can understand. So my goal is to bridge that gap and bring the knowledge to you guys, but make it easy to digest, fun to learn, and interactive. So this presentation aims to provide financial intelligence and the skills to level up your money management, because it's all about how you manage your money. It does not have to be a scary topic. All right. So this is just giving you guys an overview of what we're going to be covering, the range of important financial topics for tech professionals. So first, we are going to start off with diving into taxes and understanding the different employment types and maximizing those deductions. Because a lot of us leave money on the table because we simply just don't know the information. We're also going to go ahead and take a look at credit management strategies to build wealth through smart credit usage. Okay, that's super, super important. Also, we're going to touch on retirement planning. This is crucial. I know, some of us are young, some of us are a little older, but like, I don't care what age you are, you will benefit from understanding and actually wanting to learn about retirement planning because we're not always going to be young, okay? But retirement planning is crucial. So we're going to explore some smart investment strategies to secure your financial future. And we also have an interactive game to test your knowledge with real world scenarios. Okay. And then finally, we are going to wrap up with a Q&A session where you can get some personalized answers to your questions. All right. Before I begin, let me check to see if there's anyone that has any questions, and we're going to begin today's topic. Okay. All looks good. Let me. Hey, y'all. Thank y'all for joining. I'm seeing everyone's comments. All right. Awesome. So let's go back to our next slide. All right. So one of the things that you may or may not know is that there is a big difference between an employee and a freelancer. Some of us could be both. I'm both. So we need to understand taxes for tech professionals and how to navigate those employment types and maximize the deductions while we're there. So I'm going to go ahead and touch on the differences on the tax side of a W-2 employee and a 1099 contractor, okay? So as employees, we already know Uncle Sam is getting that money before we get that paycheck, okay? So that's the biggest difference. You already have the taxes taken out of the check versus a 1099 contractor. You are responsible for taking your taxes out of the money that you earn. And a lot of people, in my experience, and as a tax professional, a lot of people think that they haven't planned for it all year. And then they're like, okay, why do I owe so much? It's like, okay, well, have you set aside the money for it? It's like, no, okay. All right. Well, let's talk about it. I'm going to educate you so we can get this straightened out so that next year you're not hit with this huge tax bill because you didn't understand what your tax liability was as a freelancer. Okay. So again, our employers are going to pay half of the FICA taxes. FICA is what covers your Social Security, your Medicare contributions, right? So as an employee, you pay half, which is 7.65%, and then the employer matches that to make up that 15%. Okay. However, as a W-2 employee, you do have fewer available deductions, okay, compared to freelancers. Freelancers really can benefit the most from deductions. You don't have that many as a W-2 employee. So overall, your tax situation tends to be more predictable with a W-2 employee versus a contractor because you kind of know what you're getting paid. If you're going to get a bonus, okay, this is going to account for this amount of money at the end of the year versus a contractor. You're kind of like, okay, the more marketing I do, the more networking I do, the more business I make, but you never know. You never know if you're going to get a client. So you never know what that income level looks like, especially in the beginning stages. Okay. So again, contractors, freelancers, independent contractors is all synonymous. This all means the same when it comes to taxes. You are responsible for your taxes and you're supposed to be handling those tax payments quarterly. All right. So again, you are responsible as a contractor for the full 15.3% of self-employment taxes, which covers both the employer and the employee sides of the FICA. So instead of having that employer match what you're contributing to your Social Security and Medicare, you are strictly the one supposed to be doing that. Okay. On the other hand, freelancers can take advantage of more potential deductions and credits to lower their taxable income and taxability. Also, again, I'm going to touch back on this point here because if you're new to freelancing, you have to understand that you are responsible for making quarterly estimated tax payments throughout the year rather than waiting to the end of the year to owe. What that it's going to cause if you don't pay those quarterly taxes is going to cause you to receive, penalties, late fees, all that good stuff. The IRS is like, pay me my money, and then we're going to tack on this. We don't want those problems. I don't know about y'all. We don't want those problems with the IRS, okay? We don't want them knocking on the door asking them to send them this check with this amount of interest tacked on there. I don't like owing anybody anything. But again, keep in mind, you can fall under both categories. So which is why it's super, super important to understand how to navigate this, right? So that's why I'm here. I'm going to pause and just see if there's any questions. Okay. All right. Looking good. Don't be afraid, you guys, to drop any comments, questions, concerns, all of that. All right. Moving along. I have another visual for you on this topic. All right, and I want to cover this in depthly because I just understand that most people need multiple ways of understanding the information to really hone it in and take from it. So we're going to have a visual here. So on this left-hand side, we have your paycheck, and then we have an invoice, right? So the difference, again, between a W-2 employee and a 1099 contractor is that one has taxes taken out automatically, the other one does not. But so as an employee, you don't really see the tax side of things. Uncle Sam takes that cut, but your paycheck already has those things taken out. So as we shift over to the other side, as a 1099, you get a full check from your clients, your clientele, any contracts that you have set up. They're paying you directly. You have to take that money. And I know how enticing it is to keep, especially them 4 or 5 figure checks. You're like, you know what? I'm about to go splurge. I'm about to go spend this money here. But wait. Remember, just because you got that nice looking check, you will owe Uncle Sam. So let's just be proactive and understand what your tax liability is. Because I guarantee you, it's a lot better to be prepared and ready than to be, surprised. And it's the onset of depression for some folks. I have seen tax bills that are high. I'm just like, you know what? We're going to get you right so this doesn't happen again. All right. So understand that this is why budgeting as a contractor is a non-negotiable when you're in business for yourself. And I congratulate anyone who has taken that step to actually want to make money on their own and start a business. It is a huge step. But I definitely want you guys to be armed with the knowledge to succeed in that, because the biggest reason that businesses don't either, succeed or stay open for long is because of lack of proper planning, especially when it comes to the financing. All right. All right. So again, your FICA is going to be, as an employee, you're only paying 7.65% of a FICA. The employer matches the other side, right? But when you are actually working for yourself, you are now responsible for 15.3% of self-employment tax. So that's what it's called. Instead of it being called the FICA, it's going to be called your self-employment tax. And you cover that entirely as a 1099 contractor, freelancer, self-employed individual, et cetera, et cetera. So you're considered both the employee and the employer. Okay. All right. So while it feels like you're getting more freedom and maybe a bigger paycheck as a contractor, you have to plan for the extra tax load because no employer is covering that half for you. Okay. So employees, they get taxed up front. Contractors pay on the back end. Let me make sure that there are no questions before we proceed, because now, yeah, some recruiters do offer a higher pay rate on 1099 because also as a 1099, you can deduct those premiums. So let's say you're working entirely for yourself. There's no employer. You can now deduct. And this is something I want you guys to understand, the abilities and the just the amount of deductions available to you as a self-employed individual. Let's say you're paying the marketplace for a health insurance plan. That plan is like, I don't know, $500, $800 a month. Well, that is considered a self-employed deduction that is eligible for you to get. That'll actually remove that from your entire taxable income. So there's benefits to everything, but understand that those medical premiums that you pay as a self-employed individual are a tax deduction. They are very eligible for that. Okay. All right. With that being said, let's see, the comment says most companies don't do 1099 anymore, but anyone who isn't negotiating at least 8% to 12% higher on a 1099 as comparable jobs are paying on the W-2, they are taking an L. I completely agree. Because the whole thing, the difference is you have more freedom with the contractor, but you have some higher costs because they don't supply you with the equipment. You're supposed to have your own equipment, right? Understand this is also a deduction for you to take. So if you pay for a new computer, you pay for new office supplies, office chair, office desk, those are all eligible expenses. So yeah, definitely agree with that, Mr. True Great Gamer. All right, keeping right along, let's go to our next slide. I hope that's understandable for you guys. If you have questions, just let me know. All right, so in this slide, we're going to understand some of the deductions. I kind of touched on it a little bit already, but when it comes to taxes, the key is to keep more of what you earn and avoid those surprise bills at the end of the year. So that's why we're trying to plan smarter. That's where it pays off to plan smarter, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about deductions. So if you're freelancing or running a side hustle in tech, there are powerful deductions that you don't want to miss. Okay. And a lot of clients, the difference between me as a tax professional, I actually truly enjoy educating people. So like, I don't just tell people, hey, you owe this because of this. Like I'm gonna sit here and tell you, hey, this is why you owe, but this is what I did to help lower the tax liability this year. But this is what we can do for next year to set you up for a better outcome. Um, so that's where kind of working with a tax professional will help you greatly, especially when it comes to like bookkeeping and making sure you're tracking all of those eligible expenses. Okay. So home office, if you are working from home and you have a dedicated area, you can definitely deduct your entire office space if it is dedicated on your taxes. But remember, that's the key difference. It has to be dedicated. It can't be an area that you're sitting in and working from your W-2 employer in that same office. And then you half the time you're working for your own business. It can't be like that because IRS is like, okay, well, you can only deduct, a certain amount, or you may not be able to deduct it at all, depending on the situation. There are some instances where it's not worth it to try to take the home office deduction. But again, it depends on all of the information that I have available to kind of guide you on that. And it can't be something that you're setting up in your living room, but like, hey, I'm working, I work from the living room, but that's not a dedicated office space. It has to be dedicated, guys. I see it all the time. Another thing is tech equipment and software. So that's including your laptop, your tools, your subscriptions, your apps, anything you pay for that helps you become successful in business or that you need to run that business is a deduction. Okay. Also, professional development, courses, certifications, workshops, all deductible. If you're traveling for business acumen classes or courses, or you're having to fly this where, because there's a business convention happening, you took an Uber, right? You had to pay for food, right? You had to book a hotel stay, right? Those are all eligible expenses, but it really depends on how you track that. Because if you're just bad at keeping track of your expenses and you're like throwing a shoebox of receipts at me, I'm like, okay, hold up. How do we know this was for work? Do we have dates? Do we have, you want to keep it as organized as possible. All right. Also, don't forget that you can deduct your internet and phone bills. So like if when it comes to internet, even your electricity bills, you can deduct a certain percentage, not all of it, because your home is not 100% for business. You live in your home, but you can deduct a percentage based on your business use. Your percentage counts. That's what it is. So if it helps you earn money in tech, chances are that it may be deductible. Okay. So I'm going to repeat that. If it helps you earn money in tech as a freelancer, self-employed contractor, individual, chances are it is deductible for you. Okay. So let's talk about how to avoid tax surprises. One thing that I love to point people to is the IRS has a handy dandy IRS calculator. Use it. Okay. It's going to ask you your marital status. So if you're single, you have a new baby, you're married, all of that is going to change what your tax liability looks like for the next upcoming year. So what happens in this year affects you come tax time next year. Okay. So what you want to do is go to the IRS, which is irs.gov, go to their calculator, put your information in there, how much money you're making, what your marital status is, what your status, what you're claiming for the year, how many dependents you're going to be claiming, all of that good stuff. You're going to put that in there. It's going to tell you the percentage of income, where you fall at and under the tax umbrella, and what you should probably be owing at the end of the year. It's going to give you that visual that you need to sometimes get you right in line. Okay. All right. So for employees, you guys can use this too. Just because you're an employee, this is just the same information can be used. So you go to that website, put your information in. Like, let's say you're getting a bonus, and you know that's it's a good bonus. It's going to change your your tax bracket. So if you know you have a family size change, let's say you're getting another job. If you're getting another job or anything like that, you always want to go to that calculator to get the best information for what your situation is. Okay. So as a rule of thumb, as a freelancer, always aim to save about 25 to 30% of your freelance income, right? So that is a good ballpark. It's make sure that you might be off a little bit, but the ballpark is going to be the standard 25 to 30% for freelance income. Another rule of thumb, track your expenses. I don't care if you have to use a Google Sheet, a doc, anything that you can just go in and put information in and is organizing it, use it. I don't care if it's an app you pay for. So that's a tax deduction too. Because I'm gonna ask you, did you have to pay for this app? Okay, bet we're about to take that off. About to deduct that from your taxable income. But you're going to want to organize and track your expenses throughout the year. And if your situation is complex, you're dealing with something you've never dealt with, you really don't know how this will affect you at tax season, that's where hiring and getting with a tax professional is going to be your best line of defense, because you know those without it, it shows. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have, but the good thing is my clients are the ones I've got together and that actually listen, love me down, because they know that hey, if I got questions or there's anything that comes up, or if I get audited, I just need to go speak to my tax professional because I did your taxes. I understand what happened. Let's go ahead and get you taken care of. But yeah, you're gonna want to consult with a tax professional for more complex situations. Okay. Because remember, the IRS will always get theirs. The difference between stress and the peace of mind is how well you plan. And that helps you minimize your surprises, maximize your deductions, and you'll keep more of the bag, which is what this is all about. How to keep more of what you earn. I don't know about y'all, but I love to keep my money. Okay. I am very financially literate to where I'm like, okay, I don't even like paying the $3 it takes to take money out of the ATM. I'm just like, okay, that's just a waste of money. I'm just gonna go to the bank. That's just me though. But yes. So track it, deduct it, protect the bag. Okay. Now I'm going to pause for a quick second. Thank you. Thank you so much for putting the tax calculator there. Awesome. Awesome.
Can I interject, Marie?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think that Marie got the proper introduction that she deserves. So before we move forward, some of you all are already familiar because you're part of the community. Number one, huge thank you to Marie for doing this, right? Taking her time to talk about some of the things that are really important for folks in tech, and then also those that might be viewing that aren't currently in tech. But let's take a moment just to highlight the powerhouse that's guiding this session, right? So Marie is a woman who wears many hats, as y'all can see: tax professional, tech professional, mentor, community builder. Through Level Up Academy, she makes financial literacy simple, practical, and actually exciting, which is why everybody's engaging in the chat. Obviously, she knows her stuff. She also co-founded Empower US Inc., a nonprofit giving young people the mindset and money skills to thrive. Excuse me. So you're in good hands, right? And if you couldn't tell already by the first, I think we've only been on this for like 20 minutes. We're already having discussions about how to save some money, how to increase your deductions, and then reduce what you're giving to Uncle Sam. Right? They're always going to get theirs, but how can you lower that? So I just wanted to interject real quick so that way you all knew who you were talking to, or who's talking to you and presenting. And also, if you're in the chat, take a look at her link tree. Go ahead and connect with Marie directly. She's got years in the game, and if you have any questions, this is open format, so please post those questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, JT. I appreciate that. All righty. Okay, awesome. So moving right along, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this self-employment talk. Scenario. I have a scenario for you guys. I love to kind of hone in on the information in multiple ways. So not only do I have visuals, we have scenarios and really make you guys understand the difference between someone that understands deductions and takes those deductions and someone who doesn't. Okay. So with that being said, we have a scenario here. He is a self-employed 100K person. He's doing well for himself. Okay. So you're self-employed, you may be consulting, freelancing, or working on contracts in tech, and you brought in 100K this year. It sounds great, right? Proud of you. Multiple rounds of applause for that, because that is huge, especially as a self-employed person. But until tax season hits, so let's say this base case scenario is that he has no strategy. So if you did not plan ahead, you didn't take any proper deductions, no retirement contributions, nothing, you're looking at this. You're looking at about $20,334 worth of tax liability, right? So that's a whole paycheck or two if you're handing over to the IRS. There's multiple paychecks, honestly, but you're handing over multiple paychecks of tax liability to the IRS just because you were not educated on something that you could have got educated on, right? You didn't seek out a tax professional. You didn't even try to, understand it yourself and just seek the information out. So that's where being strategic and having strategic moves really comes in handy, right? So strategic moves equals real savings. Okay, so let's say that you made some smart moves. Let's say you had the 100K thousand that you made, right? And you contributed to a solo 401k. If you don't know what a solo 401k is, look it up, take it home. That's your homework. If there's something that I talk on, jot it down, review it, research it, and you'll understand how you can start implementing this. But we'll touch a little bit on that a little bit later, because that is one of the topics. So you contributed to a solo 401k. You took advantage of the QBI deduction, which is a qualified business income deduction that your tax professional would apply on your taxes. And you wrote off legit business expenses, right? So what that looks like is suddenly that your tax liability drops down to $14,682, which is $5,652 in taxes. I don't know about y'all, but I would take that money and take myself on a vacation. Okay. And I'm spending that money that way because that was money that I was about to pay Uncle Sam that I can now pocket. Bet. But yeah, so I like, me personally, I get excited when I'm able to present to a client. It's like, hey, this is what you was owing, but because you implemented what I taught you last year and started doing those things, this is what you now owe. It's 14,682. That's a lot more feasible for some people than the 20,000. I'm like, 20 bands. It's like, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. 14K hurts, but you look at overall what you would have owed, like it's a big difference. Okay, so you not only want to work hard. We're gonna work hard regardless, but you need to make your money work smarter. Okay. So this is why strategy beats hustle every time. Being self-employed gives you flexibility and tax power, but only if you know how to use it. Alrighty. Hey, Sunshine. Hey, girl. That's my girl. All right, keeping on track. We are. This has wrapped up the self-employment tax side of things. If anyone has any questions they would like to clarify with me, please ask before we move on to the next topic. And if nothing, then I'll just go ahead and consider that I'm just a great explainer and that I made it as easy as possible to grasp. So I'll give myself a pat on the back for that. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and go to the mastering money. So guys, this is what I personally used. I have a story, and if you have my link tree, I have a few interviews that I have got locally interviewed here in Houston. I am from Houston, H-Town. And I've gotten interviewed a few times, and I kind of like put my story on why financial literacy is very important to me and how it helped me change my life. If you guys are interested in learning more about me, definitely check those interviews out and you will kind of see why. But with that being said, we're going to talk about mastering your money. So I call this the 50-30-20 rule. Okay. So basically what this is a simple framework to help you master your money. It breaks down your after-tax income into 3 major buckets, right? So you have your needs, you have your wants, and then you have your savings. And I need you guys to understand when you think of money, all you're doing is when you're making a plan for your money is creating a plan for the money. It's not really a budget. It's just creating a plan, because without a plan, you're going to fail. So what's the saying? If you
fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Yes, there you go. Thank you, JT. That one, that's it right there. So it's not about restriction. It's really about creating a roadmap for yourself, right? And I don't know about anybody else. I'm a Virgo. I like structure. I need things set up a certain way to really be successful in what I do, because my mind, I'm undiagnosed ADHD, like goes 100 miles per minute. I'm like da 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 da. I got to do this. So I just need structure into my life. But basically, your 50% is going to be your essential living expenses, like your housing, your utilities, your groceries, transportation, minimum debt payments. So you're going to cover. This is supposed to cover your basics here, right? And then you have your 30% wants. This is going to do kind of like your lifestyle fun, like your entertainment, your hobbies, dining out, traveling, things that make your life enjoyable, but they are not mandatory. It's going to go into the 30% bucket. Okay. Now, moving along to the 20%, this is where you are going to think about your future and paying yourself in the future. So, this is your future self paycheck. So this is your emergency fund planning. This is your retirement planning. This is your investment. This is your wealth building moves that are going to be allocated into the 20% bucket. So I have a quick exercise for you guys to kind of like get you guys started on how this can be implemented into your own lives. But keep in mind, your numbers, this is just a framework. You can adjust this. You can make this a 60-20-10 rule. You can make this however you need to make this, but you need a framework. This is just a framework to provide so you can custom make this fit your lifestyle. And of course, this does get easier if you have a partner because you have more income. So understand the different ways you can kind of make this work for you guys. But basically, the challenge that I have for you guys is called a self-audit exercise, okay? So here's where I challenge you. Before you can follow any rule, you've got to know where your money is really going. I want you guys to print out your last 3 months worth of bank statements, and you're going to grab 3 highlighters, okay? You're going to highlight your needs in one color. You're going to highlight your wants in the other color. And then you're going to highlight what's left for savings and investing in the last color. So this is not about guilt. I just need you to understand what you've been spending your money on. I have sat down with people that was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was paying for this subscription. I'm like, yeah, you've been paying for this subscription for over a year, because they don't even look at what they're paying for. They just know that they got money and it's coming out of the account, but they're not actually looking and seeing what they could have cut back on, what they're paying. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that I could have been saving this money had I just sat down with some highlighters and printed out my bank statements. It could all be so simple. What Lauryn Hill said, it could all be so simple, y'all. But anyways, let's go ahead and continue. So I need you guys to understand that once you do this exercise, you are going to be better able to understand where you've been spending your money. You're going to see your habits in real, not 4K, but you're going to see it right in front of you on paper. So this is where you can make those adjustments. This is where you're going to see where those adjustments can happen. So you can't fix what you don't measure. So this is why you're self-auditing yourself. Okay. So getting the framework of like, I need to self-audit myself, and this is what it's going to take for me to do that. Okay. So your numbers may not look like, again, I'm going to re-say this. It does not need to look like the 50-30-20 rule. Okay. The goal is not perfection. It's direction. Right? So maybe it's going to be 60-20-20. Maybe it's 70-20-10. Maybe it's, a lot different than that, but you just need to use the framework to get where you're trying to get to. So the key is just having a strategy and working towards balance with that. And again, having no plan is planning to fail. So this framework or your version of it puts you back in control. Once you know where you are, you can map out where you want to go. And I want you guys to think of money as a tool, right? So money gives us access to the things that we want in life. The more of it, typically, the more freedom we have. So it's a tool. So when you look at it, it is a tool that you must give a purpose to, right? So we have to give the money a job. That's what really changed things in my head, was like, I need to give my money a job instead of just like spending and being young and being reckless. I think that's the biggest difference, is like in my peer group, I just turned 33. Speaking with me from a person that's been, learning finances for a long, long time, compared to other people that have no understanding of it, like the life choices are a lot different, just because my conversation is a lot different, just because I actually know this stuff and I'm passionate about it. So I'll teach it to you, and you probably just told me one thing. I'm like, okay, hold on, we can do this. I'm a solution oriented person. So it's like, you can definitely tell the people that actually know about it. But don't look at it as intimidation, because I don't ever lead with that. It's more so I'm just like passionate about it. I want people to know because it changed my life. It really, really did. And I wasn't taught it. Like my parents were great people, great parents, but they didn't teach it because they didn't know it. And so I actually to this day teach my parents some of the things I know to help them, and they listen because they was like, okay, well, you proven that you know what you're talking about, and I give them tidbits and everything like that. So I actually help my own parents. I do their taxes too. That's how I got started in taxes. Yeah, let me stay on topic though. ADHD, you see. Okay. So you're going to start where you are, right? And you're going to adjust as needed. But remember that your plan should serve your goals and not the other way around. All right. All right. With that being said, I'm going to pause just a minute, see if there's anything that I need to answer. What's the best way to dodge taxes? Legality optional? That's hilarious. Look, I'm not trying to get caught up with you right now. I'm a tax professional. IRS is not playing no games with me. All right. Moving on. What is our next topic? Okay. All right. Made these little graphics for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the look and layout. I did my best. I'm really excited just to teach this. So I wanted to definitely give you guys some visuals. But we're going to talk about credit. Okay. Before we get into credit, I was definitely one of those when I was in my 20s. I got access to like 5-figure credit cards because my credit was so good. But it's very easy that once you have good credit to get into debt too, because you have all this access to money that you didn't have access to previously. So while we're going to speak on building credit, we're going to talk about the ways that you can strategically use a good credit and access to capital to put yourself in a better position. All right. So this is where, for me, it gets fun. Like money is fun to me. All right. But I want you guys to understand credit is not something to fear. It's a tool. Wealthy people don't avoid credit. They actually master it. And there's a difference, guys. Like in my journey and you know, talking with millionaires and having mentors and just having people around me that's living the life. And I've learned from so many people. There's a good thing. There's a such thing as good credit, good debt and bad debt. Most Americans, though, have bad debt, but the wealthy people, they have good debt. And I'll kind of explain that a little bit later, but I want you guys to understand that too, because I think in the mindset of most people, we understand that debt is bad. It's not always the case. I remember when I bought my first house at 27 and I had paid my car off in the same month that I bought my house. I had my credit score sitting nice and pretty, y'all, right? What happened when I got the mortgage and then I paid off my car 3 years early was that my credit took a hit. It took an extreme hit. And so another thing I want you guys to understand, this is kind of like off-top, this is my own personal views, but like we Americans are in a debt cycle, right? So we're almost taught to have debt so that we can have a credit score, but we're also penalized for having debt because my score took like 100-point hit. I was so upset about that. I was like, I've been working this whole time. I didn't need it because I already had the house, had a paid off car. I didn't actually need it in the moment, but I want you guys to understand that that's some of the things that will happen as you learn more about credit. Good debt, bad debt, and that when you pay off debt, you will get penalized. Or I call it penalized because I'm just like, really? Why was that even necessary? But okay, so let's talk about what your credit is made up of. Your payment history is going to account for the largest percentage of what a credit score is. So this is your biggest piece of your credit score. This is paying your bills on time, every time. So this signals to lenders how reliable and how trustworthy you are in paying back what you have borrowed, right? And this takes the biggest hit though. So it's 35% impact, but it takes the biggest hit because when you miss a payment, and when you miss multiple payments, oh yeah, you're going to be deemed greatly. So, and it can stay on your report up to 7 years. But if you know or know anybody that does credit repair and you want to get started on that, definitely learn about your different options for credit repair, because I've helped people with that too. I don't actively help with credit anymore, but it is definitely possible to help remove some of those negative remarks, especially if you've changed, like you've started paying on time and we have something to work with. You can kind of work with that to get that removed. But you don't want to start. So if you're already set on paying on time, keep that. Because please understand, one slip up, it's going to ding you. You can recover. It's just going to take a while. Okay, so make auto pay. One of the things I did as a young mom, I had learned how to put things on auto pay because I was like, the less thinking I have to do, and the more automation that I set up, it was easier for me to understand that this is part of my structure, and it was predictable. It's just a better way to stay on top of your finances without having to think, did I remember to pay this? Did I not? So make that your friend. Okay. Credit utilization. So this is what you're using on your credit lines, right? So if you, this measures how much of available credit that you're using. So the sweet spot is 10%, right? So 10% usage, but for the best scores, I would say nothing over 30%. So I say the sweet spot is 10% utilization. And I'm gonna give you guys a scenario so you can understand that. But no more than 30% of your minimum, 30% of your available credit line. So maxing out your cards doesn't just hurt your score. It also increases your financial stress. So just because a lender gives you a $10,000 limit doesn't mean that you should treat it like cash to spend. Don't do that. You owe them people their money, and they're going to tack on all that interest. And if you already are dealing with bad credit, you have a high APR, a high interest an interest rate for that. So it's not free money, but a lot of people treat it like it's free money. All right, moving on to your credit age. So the longer you've had credit, the stronger your score. So if you've had a car you've been paying on for 4 years, that is positively impacting your credit because you have the age, you have longevity. Lenders love to see the longevity. They're like, oh, she's stable. Okay. Oh, she's, reliable. We like her. You're more likely to get those type of credit cards that you're trying to go for. Okay. So the longer you've had it, the stronger your score. But closing out the old accounts, you never want to, like, let's say you paid off something like a car. For instance, I paid my car off. You never want to remove anything that you positively paid off on your credit because it's going to drop your credit score bad. Not only paid off the debt, but it's also going to be that you have removed the credit line that positively showed credit age. You don't want to do that. That's 15% of what makes up your credit score. Okay. And then the next one is the credit mix. So this is having a mix of accounts like a credit card loan, a car loan, a student loan shows lenders that you can handle different types of credit responsibly. So you want the mix. You want to have at least one account from each category. So you want to have a credit card loan. The more, the better, as long as you're keeping utilization under 30%, but sweet spot is 10%. And then you have like your student loans or a mortgage. Those are all good. But don't take on debt just for the mix. Only add the accounts that you actually need. So, right. So we still have to be strategic in how we're getting our mix of credit because they can catch up with us. You're like, oh, I got all these credit cards. I'm about to ball out. So I'm taking all the friends, all the homies. We going to Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Don't get like that. Now, if you can afford it and you can pay that back, absolutely. Because what I did, it was when I had just bought my house and I had all these credit lines. I was like, okay, I had the cash for what I wanted to furnish my house with. So I just put that on the credit cards. And then I just paid back the credit card in one lump sum. And then I got the points back. So being strategic with your credit is about utilizing credit cards that give you points back. You can use those points for flights. You can use those points for what do they call them? Gift cards. I use those for Christmas gifts. I was using it for food, anything. But being strategic is definitely about going for the credit cards that's going to give you something back. You got to, what's in it for me type of mindset when it comes to these credit cards out here. All right. So new credit, this part right here, which is 10%, which is the lowest one. Well, credit mix in this new credit, the lowest impact, but you want to make sure that you're not just applying for every new credit card or loan that you see, because it's going to create a hard inquiry. And we get dinged for everything when it comes to credit, honestly. So it's going to temporarily ding your credit, which is going to drop it by a few points, not too much, but it's still something that you don't want to make it a habit. Like, I'm just about to apply for 15 credit cards because you about to have 15 dings on your credit. So only space out applications, right? So if you're filling out applications that you need a new washer, a new dryer, you're trying to get a credit card for that, space it out. Do it like every couple of months to kind of see what you get. Don't sit there and tape out 15 applications at one time, though. And only apply when it serves a strategy. So like a rewards card that you can actually use. So if you need flight points, get a card that is going to help you pay for your flights. Make sure it's something that you'll actually use. All right, so we're going to close this out, but I'm going to give you guys an example. So basically, as your tech career grows and your income increases, remember this: money doesn't automatically equal financial security. If you misuse credit, you can make six figures and still feel broke. Smart credit decisions means that you get lower interest rates, more opportunities to invest, you get more peace of mind, and that's how you use your credit to build wealth instead of debt. All right. So remember that smart credit builds wealth, but bad credit builds debt. That's the difference. That's why the wealthy, they can have, good debt. They might have debt, but it's good debt. All right. So let me give you guys a real world scenario. Imagine there's a software engineer, right? Making 120,000 a year, right? And he's getting a great salary, right? But their credit score is in the low 600s because of late payments and high utilization. That means that when you do go buy a car, instead of a 4% loan, you get hit with a 12% loan. And if you look at what over the course of that lifespan of that credit or that car loan, you will have paid these people thousands of dollars just off of the interest rate being 4% and 12%. I don't know about you guys. I hate owing people and I hate being taxed higher than I need to be taxed in any way. So like I made sure when I bought my car, I went to the bank. I went to a credit union and I had been with them since I was 18. And they made sure that I got the lowest credit interest that I could get going to the dealership. The dealership is not going to give you your best rates. That's just a little tidbit for you guys. Always go to your bank that you've been with for the longest, get pre-approved, and then take that to the car dealership so that they don't even have to run your credit. Your credit has already been run previously. So that's just a little tip for you guys. I want y'all to just think about the different ways that you could be strategic. But if you think about it, over the course of 5 years, they will have paid thousands more in interest just because their credit was bad compared to someone who have a 720 credit score, right? So think about the money that you could have put into an investment, you could have put into savings, or you could have just been enjoying life with that extra money. Now imagine that the same person with a 760 credit score, they qualify for better rates, cashback rewards, and maybe even some travel perks. Same income, but because they've mastered credit, they keep more of their money working for them instead of paying it out in interest. That's why I say smart credit builds wealth, bad credit builds debt. Income alone does not secure your financial freedom. It's how you manage your credit that makes the biggest difference. Okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to go back. Yep, you can make six figures, still feel broke. Career improvement, I would say that would go under the, so you can tailor this to yourself. So if you want to create a category for improvement, you can, but I would say that's going to go in the 30% because that's kind of outside of, it's more so of a want instead of necessarily a need. But again, you tailor this however you need to tailor it. Good question though. Thank you for the question. All right, so this is about kind of being strategic. As you get better at credit and you get access to more capital, access to more credit lines, you can start using credit to build the wealth. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what the wealthy do. And I know I was going to keep this more so of an overview, but I really do this because I care. If we can start thinking in lines of how to build wealth instead of just buying the latest shoes, the latest outfits, going on the fanciest trips, and we can also think about how we can still enjoy ourselves. Because one thing about it, look, we got one life, live it, but also be strategic and think about your future, because that's where it's going to set you apart from people that didn't take their future seriously when they were younger, and then people that thought about their future while they were younger and made those smart moves, right? So good credit isn't just about getting approved for a credit card. It's about unlocking opportunities that can change your financial future. So what you get access to are better loans. Overall, you're going to pay the lowest interest rates. If your credit, I would say the sweet spot for credit is about 720. 720, I've seen people with 720 get the same benefits as someone with an 800 score, because it's still considered premium as far as credit scores go, right? So with that being said, Your credit is strong when you're about a 720. Your lenders trust you a lot more than someone that's in the 6s, 5s, and the 4s. 4s, you ain't on nobody's radar. They're not trying to give you no type of loan. Please leave them people's dealership if you're going in there with a 4. If your credit score begins with a 4, don't even do that to yourself. But what happens is that lower rates mean less money going to the bank and more money staying in your pocket. So over the life of a mortgage or a loan, that could be tens of thousands of dollars that you save, right? So let's talk about real estate leverage. This is where credit becomes power. So you can start investing with your strong credit score. You can qualify for mortgages on multi-family homes. You know what I'm saying? You can start qualifying for duplexes or other investment properties with your credit score. And here's the wealth play. If you choose to go into multi-family homes, duplexes, and stuff like that, you can actually use your tenants and rent out a side of the duplex. You stay on the other side, and they're paying for the entire duplex, but you're making the smart move. So you're collecting the money, and they're paying for basically housing you, but you're the landlord. So like, I want us to think about how we can be strategic with our credit scores and make these investment and create properties for investment and income, right? And then think about the income or the things that you can do with that income. You can go put, vending machines up at your laundromat. You can go buy a laundromat. You can do anything. Like, this is kind of the things that I've learned and that I've actually implemented in my life, is how to be smart with money and make business moves, So this is kind of like going to go hand in hand with how you can get in the mindset of how to be a freelancer, but also what the opportunities are that you're presented with. So business credit. I don't know if you guys know anything about business credit. It's similar to personal credit, but strong personal credit also opens up doors to business credit lines. So with strong credit, you have access to business credit lines and capital. So this allows you to invest in more side hustles for your business without relying solely on your personal savings. That is the best part about having a strong credit, because if you have strong personal credit, you're going to, you can personal guarantee yourself to a business line of credit. So as long as they see that you have a personal credit score that's really good, then they are more likely to give you access to higher capital limits and capital credit lines to make those smart moves that you want to make to add to your family's wealth. So that means that you can fund your side hustle, consulting businesses, startups without draining your personal savings. So you're leveraging credit to build income generating assets. One thing you're going to hear, my kids know these words. They know what a liability is. They know what an asset is. They know what a budget is. They know what a credit score is. Like, I've taught them this. It's like, I'm not teaching you guys this information for you guys to go act all willy-nilly with the stuff that you have access to. It's really so that you can understand how money works and you make those smart decisions because you've been taught it. So there's no excuses for my kids. They know I run a tight ship. All right. So moving on to lower interest rates. Again, we know that with good credit, you have lower interest rates. And you can always refinance. You can build equity. You can take out equity to buy another property. There are so many things that you can do with good credit, guys. So this moves you up into a certain level, a certain tax bracket. It just moves you up and into a different type of lifestyle that you're trying to attain. And that's how you stack wealth. That is how you stack wealth. So when you manage credit wisely, you're not just boosting a score, you're buying yourself leverage, you're buying yourself freedom, and you're getting access to opportunities to build wealth that actually lasts. All right. We have one more topic before we do a little game and close out. Let me make sure there's no other questions. Awesome. Yeah, thank you for posting that. NerdWallet is definitely one of the sources I use for different things, from finding, high yield savings accounts, comparing credit cards. NerdWallet is awesome. I love it. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our next topic here. So this is retirement. We're going to end the session on retirement because no one really wants to talk about retirement. It's like, we're not old, or maybe you are, I don't know, but you don't really want to think about the future that far ahead to where you have to say like, oh, what am I going to do for money when I'm like 50, 60, 70? But you need to. And it can actually be fun when you understand it, okay? So retirement may feel far away right now, but time is your most powerful wealth building tool. The earlier that you start, the more compound growth works for you. So this chart shows how a simple $400 a month grows completely differently depending on when you begin saving that money. So we're going to start with the most common. retirement account, which is your 401k. That is pre-tax money that the employer matches that goes into an account. So this is your classic workplace plan. Contributions are pre-tax, which lowers your taxable income, and many employers will match a percentage of your contribution. So that's free money. Always grab the match. I remember when I was like in my 20s and my job, they would match our retirement account, what we put in at 5%, up to 5% they would put in. And I was like, I was telling everybody else, like my peers, I'm like, y'all need to be making sure y'all putting in that 401k, because then if you do, they'll match it, they'll match you at 5% at the highest. So I was like, if you don't, then you're just leaving money on the table. And it was just like, but why do we care about that? I'm just like, oh wow, okay. So there are some people that really, truly, honestly don't care, especially when you're in your 20s. Who's thinking about retirement, right? But see, that's what set me apart from my peers at that time, is because I was actually thinking about these things. I was like, I'm not leaving money on the table. I'll put in 5% and get the match back. Why not? Why not? But another type of retirement account is your Roth IRA, right? So Roth is funded with after-tax dollars, which means that the growth and the withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. So for younger professionals, this is a powerful way to lock in today's tax rates and enjoy tax-free money later. They all serve a purpose. They all serve a purpose. Okay. So next, we're going to look at the traditional IRA account. This is similar to a 401k. The contributions are pre-tax, and the difference is flexibility. So you don't need an employer for the traditional IRA account. So this is great if your job doesn't offer a plan, or if you're self-employed, or you want to just add extra savings beyond a 401k. So if you don't really know what the differences are, if you want to use this, look up these traditional IRA. Also, the solo 401k, look that up. Look that one up too. So you can understand what the differences are and the ways that you can utilize some of them, all of them, etc., to fit your life plan. So if you look here at this is the age that someone has started matching or started their portfolio. So starting at the age of 25 with $400 a month, you can build up over 1.2 million by the age of 65. Let me move this over. But then starting at 35, that cuts down nearly in half, right? So you have less money that you're able to compound if you wait until you're much older compared to you being younger or now, right? So starting at 35 cuts down nearly in half, and then waiting until 45 or 55 leaves you with far less money. It's still good to start no matter what age you're at, but just understand the benefit that time is truly on your side when you start thinking about the different ways that you can start to plan for your future. So don't wait. The earlier that you start, the easier that retirement becomes. Might as well get it on out the way. You're going to get old, God willing, as we all want to live our longest life as possible. So why not do it comfortably? So this is what an account looks like that's growing at 7%. If they started at 25 with $400 a month, they have a $1.2 million account. And if they start at 35, they're only at about 500,000, something like that, right? And then waiting until they're about 45 or 55, yeah, you're looking about 250,000. It's not bad, but it could have been a lot better for them. All right. With that being said, guys, this is the fun part. This is my game that's called Bag Fumbled or Bag Secured. So here's what I want you guys to do. We're going to talk over some simple, it's not going to be anything really complex, but some simple financial decisions that tax pros may face. You are going to tell me, did they secure the bag? So you're going to say bag secured, or you can put a little check mark, or you're going to say bag fumbled, or you can put the X for that. And then I'm going to provide feedback on why they fumbled the bag or why they secured the bag, okay? Before we begin, let me see here if there's any questions. Okay. All righty. So here's our first scenario. Right here. All righty. So we have the first scenario. Marcus, he makes $25,000 from his freelance coding side hustle. Okay. But he spent it all and didn't save a dime for taxes. Now come April, the IRS is knocking with penalties and a fat tax bill? Y'all should know the answer to this one. Did he fumble the bag or did he secure the bag? It's a pretty straightforward one. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Fumble. Yeah, definitely. Definitely fumbled. And why did he fumble? Thank you, Miss Jem, for that. He fumbled because he did not pay his estimated quarterly taxes because he didn't set aside anything. He didn't set aside that sweet spot from 25% to 30% of freelance income for that. And he could have done that to, make sure that he had the money set aside to pay the IRS because they want their money and they want it now. All right, moving on to the next scenario. Let's see here. All right, so we have Miss Tasha. Miss Tasha puts all her bills on a rewards credit card to pay her rent, her phone, streaming, you name it. But she keeps her utilization under 10% and she pays it off in full every month. So do you think that she secured her bag or did she fumble her bag? Can the chat moderator win a prize? It was true. He had a ball. Oh, he was balling out for sure. Okay, so hold on. Who said bag fumbled? Why did he fumble? All right. Okay, so y'all said Tasha fumbled. Okay, I'm getting some mixed answers on this one. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the correct answer, guys, is that Tasha, she secured the bag. And I'll tell you why she secured the bag. She secured the bag because she kept her utilization low. She had a high credit score. So she kept her utilization under 10%. And she's paying her bills off monthly, but she's doing it on a credit card because she wants those points. So it's smart what she's doing. Yes, she is putting it all on credit, but she's paying it back in the same month, which means that her credit is never seen as her overutilizing her available credit line. So she's actually smart. This is what I've done. This is what I do. So she is playing chess, y'all. She is not playing checkers. So she's staying in that prime zone for paying it in full, utilizing the rewards while budgeting. She's using her credit as a tool and not a trap. So this is why she secured the bag. Go ahead, Miss Tasha. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right. We got our third scenario. We got a good old Brian here. Let's see what Brian been up to. Brian. All right. So Brian stepped into his first big tech bag, 120K is his salary. He's hyped. He ready to flex. He like, I need a $1,200 a month luxury car lease. I need to have a high-rise loft that I'm paying $3,500 for or $3,000 for. And then he has not left anything for his savings cushion, but he is balling. He is having a grand old time. So what is he doing? Did he secure the bag or did he fumble the bag or did he do both? What y'all think? Fumbled. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to challenge Miss Jem? Did he fumble? Because I mean, he's doing great, right? He making some good money for his first tech job. He was the bag. He was the bag. Okay. The cars that he got that bag, right? Like you know what I'm saying? I'm proud of him. But my boy fumbled and he fumbled hard because he fell into the classic lifestyle inflation trap, y'all. You make more money, you spend more money. So instead of saving and investing or stacking, he actually went into that lifestyle inflation trap. So this is what we're gonna call this being rich in vibes, but broken reality. Because more than likely, if he needs to pay for a car expense on that car that he's paying $1,200 a month for, he can't do it without waiting for his next paycheck. And if he's spending it as quickly as he's making it, bro man gonna have to be calling his parents or a friend or calling a lifeline, like, hey, can you float me? Can you lend me this? It's just not a good place to be when you're making that much money. That's why we said, just because you're making more money does not mean that you're in a better place financially. Saving this for suckers, I'm crying. No, that is not what I want you to take away from this. I am trying to teach you to be better. All right, guys. So yeah, he fumbled. He could have done a lot better. All right, going to the next scenario. We got 6 total. Retirement. So we have Maya. Maya is 25. She's in her bag early and she's contributing $400 a month to her 401k. Plus, she's taking full advantage of her employer match. Did she fumble the bag or did she secure the bag? What did Maya do? Is she fumbling or is she securing that future? All right. Yep. She secured the bag. The reason she secured the bag is because she is starting at 25, right? So she's letting that compound interest, which is the seventh wonder of the world, according to Einstein. She's letting the compound interest do the heavy lifting, right? And she is letting her employer match her contributions to the 401k. So she's getting even more money on top of that. So she's thinking about and she's prioritizing long-term wealth, right? So she is definitely securing her bag in her future. I'm proud of you, Maya. Keep it up. All right. So let's go to our next one. All right, we got good old Sasha here. Let's see what Sasha been up to. Sasha, she just moved into a new apartment and wanted that cute aesthetic. You know, the plants, the vibes, the velvet couch, probably the little green background for the selfies for TikTok and Instagram and all of that stuff. But instead of budgeting for it, she maxes out her credit cards and says that it's cool. I'll just make the minimum. And then I'll just wait until I get my next bonus to pay this all off. Do we think that she fumbled or do we think she secured the bag? Fumble badly. Yeah, she fumbling. She didn't drop the ball because, honey, you are utilizing high utilization on your credit. So you're damaging your credit. You're maxing your credit cards out. You are making minimum payments. And you are relying on a bonus that you may or may not get. Let's say you just didn't do good at work. You might not be getting the top performance bonus. You might just be getting half of that. So you're relying on something that you don't even have. Sasha has fumbled the bag. You don't want that, Sasha. You got to learn. Got to do better. But I'm proud of you for at least making your minimum payments. I'll say that. At least she's making a minimum. But she can do better. Okay, guys. So we have our last scenario. We have Mr. Jordan. He has great credit and he's using it to qualify for a loan on a duplex. He lives in one unit and rents out the other so that his tenants cover the mortgage. And in the meantime, Jordan's building equity in real estate. Okay. So do we think that he fumbled the bag or did he secure the bag? Me and Jordan can be buddies because I love people that is just utilizing their financial literacy like this. Playing like the Falcons. The last lady only putting 5K into her 401k when the limit is, you know what, you got a point, but hey, that's what having your own game plan is supposed to look like. You might be okay with the 5K. She's young too. So she got time to up that up in the future. Maybe she want to do that when she's 30. We never know, but that's a good point out. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. Yeah, he's securing the bag. Who said he fumbled like a hot potato? He did not. Secured landlord. Okay. So Jordan, he is securing his future because he's letting his tenants build or fund his wealth. He's letting them pay the bills and he's living in there. And meanwhile, he's reaping the same benefits as if he was doing it. But he's building equity. He's using long-term equity and passive income. So as his property value is rising, his net worth is rising, he's positioning himself for being able to increase rental growth income. So maybe he's going to be able to get another duplex and rent that out. Now he's adding more income. Now he can do cash out refinancing. So it's just not about credit, guys. It opens up a world of opportunities, right? All right. With that being said, I have not taken a sip of my tea. Let me take a sip of tea really quick. All right, guys, I really want to thank you guys for letting me teach you guys something new, engaging with me. We're going to wrap this secure the bag up and how to keep more of what you earn presentation. We have talked about the power of financial literacy. We fumbled a few bags together, respectfully, but most importantly, we walked through real practical strategies that you can use right now to level up your money game, from taxes to credit to investing, and even the trap that we call lifestyle inflation. You have got the gems to understand how to navigate that. Now it's just a matter of applying them, because wealth is not just built with money, it is actually built with the knowledge and action. Without action behind the knowledge, you're going to just be on the hamster wheel, not accomplishing anything. So you have to couple the knowledge with the action to get the payout that you're looking for, just the rewards you're looking for. I'm incredibly grateful to have shared the space with you guys tonight. Thank you for showing up, for staying engaged, and choosing to invest in yourself, because learning about this is truly an investment into yourself. Like, just doing this for yourself is what it's all about. It's not about proving a point to anyone, it's actually about learning what you can do to accomplish your personal goals. So, thank you again for choosing to invest in yourself. Before we officially close it out, I want to open the floor for any questions that you may have, but I will be turning it over to. Thank you. Thank you. I believe my sunshine is on. Hey,
It's me,
girl.
girl. I'm here. I'm here. Yes.
Hey, lady.
Hi, hon. Hey, everybody. But I'll be hushing right now. For now.
Thank you so much for the feedback. The fantastic talking points. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And the goal is to, guys, make this, as we build upon this information, make it even more, it goes into even more depth as I continue the series. I do hope to make this a series if my schedule allows, because we need it. We making the money, right? We need to know how to be strategic with it. Um, Somebody said I learned that saving is not just for suckers. That is funny. I've been a sucker this whole time and didn't know it. Thank you so much for the feedback. You said fun and educational. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. I will turn it over to Sunshine to close us out. Thank you guys for staying engaged and connected.
Hey, y'all. Well, there we have it. Can we please get a round of applause for the lovely, beautiful Marie herself? Okay, okay. If I know y'all can't make noises, but look, clock it, clock it. I'll do it for y'all.
So funny.
But Marie, she just gave us the keys to keeping that bag secure, y'all. So her link tree is in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to her, get some more resources, some support. Support her and her business in general, you know. Keep the convo going. You know, if you're not already in the Discord, the link will be in the chat as well. Click on that lovely link, add, send it to your cousin, to your mama, to your auntie. Okay, send it to anybody at this point. That's a hot complexion.
So funny.
Also follow our TikTok, our check out our website. Or have events posted there as well. We really do appreciate everyone for coming out supporting Marie. I really appreciate. I love finances as well. I know I missed maybe just a little bit of it, but girl, I'm gonna watch it. I got it. I got it. Because this was key. Okay, this was all the gems I needed. So. But that's it, you guys. We appreciate y'all coming, that y'all was here, you stuck around, you engaged. It was enlightful. It was so uplifting. I loved it. So,
All
yeah.
right. Yes. Thank you, guys. See you guys again